Insert the usual like, comment, subscribe, rate, share, whatever. Let's get into this. Warhammer The Old World will get some new news next week when the Warhammer Fest starts. But since we are here and we're getting closer, we know more things about the game, let's talk about what it needs to succeed. Because this is the most important thing. The Old World can just be a flop. It can die instantly. There's no doubt about it. And to lose the Old World twice, well, I guess some people would be unhappy with that, myself included. So what does the Old World need to survive, to succeed even, to become one of the major players for Games Workshop alongside Warhammer 40k and Age of Sigmar? Well, first of all, we have to look into the support for the Old World. The Old World needs to get support and it needs to be careful to avoid all the mistakes of the last edition for Warhammer Fantasy. What this means is that they need to be able to keep up with things and keep everything in a normal pace, not make things overpowered, not ignore things, and just make the game as balanced as they can. Though that is kind of hard, as we've seen from their previous two behemoths for the franchise of Warhammer. Still, with proper support and not giving up on the thing, things can look good. Just look at the Horus Heresy Age of Darkness box set, the second edition for Horus Heresy. As long as you can maintain something for it, as long as you can keep it supported, and not kill the miniatures, things will be looking good. It will make a profit. But what I think will help the most is doing the following. You have Games Workshop has two assets. Two big assets that can help it promote something to the stars beyond. First of all is the Black Library. And while we know that gigantic series, like the Horus Heresy, are a little bit harder to do when it comes to Warhammer Fantasy, and the failure of The Beast Arises kind of also proved that, they can still try and maintain a story as gigantic in size for the Old World. And it wouldn't really be that hard because it has everything it needs right there. You have multiple important characters in the world. Remember, the Old World happens in the age of Magnus the Pious. Well, before he becomes emperor or whatever. You have multiple important characters. You can see to the ascension of Magnus the Pious. You can see to the War of Chaos. You have multiple points of views that you can go into. Multiple armies that you can explore. Give more lore. Work on Grand Katai. Bring in the fake India thing. Work on the Skaven and so on. There's so much that can be done with the Old World to tell one huge narrative story the same way you have the Horus Heresy. That will help boost its rating. Because good lore to it is what attracts people to the universe. Now, some may say that most of Games Workshop sales comes from the overpriced plastic they have. Indeed, they do. But let's not forget that books are not an afterthought, a second thought. Because books dictate how events go on and forward and how they move. When you get to explore your favorite character, when you first go to that library or whatever, grab that Warhammer book, read it, and you love the character of, I don't know, Cetra, for example. Well, you're gonna get interested into it. Books are, shall we say, a gateway drug into the hobby. And with a huge spawning series, it can work like that. It can probably work. Now, of course, to reach the Horus Heresy size is a monumentous task. But you don't really have to start with 52 books. What you need to do is lower the scope. Remember how the Horus Heresy initially started as a plan for 3 books. And then, we got to this point that we are in right now. Nevertheless, you can start with that. Don't start with just 3. Go for like 5 and see how things progress, how much money you make. Try to build a huge narrative around it while tempering your expectations, because you don't want to have another The Beast Arises series that becomes rushed and weird by what was it, the ninth book or something like that. You need to keep it in a way that it works. Make your expectations low, see how things come, and evolve and progress them. You can even do the whole thing to be about how Magnus the Pious reaches his throne, how he becomes the emperor of the empire. And it is very easy to do this. Very easy. That's fine. It is very easy to do this once you have all the proper books in place and everything to tell this grand narrative. Because this is the most important aspect of Warhammer the Old World. It has a beginning and an end. Unfortunately, it has an end, I know. Warhammer 40k doesn't. The Horus Heresy leads directly into Warhammer 40k, and it continues until this day with the whole Arcs of Omen thing. For Warhammer the Old World, Warhammer Fantasy, we know that we are at this point, during the reign of Magnus the Pious, let's say for that, or before it, and we know how it ends with the end time. There's a huge span of time between these two events that you can just navigate through very easily. And the fact that there are already Warhammer Fantasy books out there helps this even more to tell the narrative of the world. Look at this. Create a Horus Heresy kind of series for the old world. See how it evolves, see how much people are interested in it, temper expectations, and don't create another The Beast Arises. Because while that series has bangers, it also has flops, and the end of the series kind of isn't there. It's not there. It could have been, but it was rushed. Avoid doing that with the old world. Try to keep things consistent. Bring Dan Abbott to write, because that guy is made for Warhammer the same way Christy Golding is made for Warcraft. You need those things out there. Bring Dan Abbott, make him write 5 of the books. See how well they work into the narrative. Then make things bigger, explore, bring new writers, write other stories about other characters and factions. Make it go further. And then, again, always temper your expectations. Now, this is one of them, yes? Creating a huge book series. What's the other asset that Games Workshop has? Well, it's their subscription model, Warhammer Plus. And while I'm not subscribed to it, and I will make a video on how to make it better, that can be used to enormous things. Add one of those optional miniatures to be from Warhammer Fantasy. Do something else. Make a series about it. Okay, don't make a huge series. Don't try to make Black Talon or whatever else you're doing right now. But make a short series that's related to the book thing that I've mentioned earlier. And have 3 episodes, 2 or 3 minutes each, 5 at most. Put the first one for free on YouTube. And if you want to see the continuation of the story, you can just go to Warhammer Plus. Of course, you're going to have to make it this thing because people that have read the book already won't really be interested in paying for the subscription model if the first episode is there and if they read the book. But for those that haven't, this is a nice way to funnel people towards Warhammer Plus. And this will help with the popularity of the game. One of my bros that's not really into Warhammer, doesn't know stuff about anything Warhammer, once he saw the trailer for the Horus Heresy, the 2nd edition, he was really keen on finding out more and asking me, what is this about? Of course, he lost interest when he heard about the miniatures and books and stuff, but it was still there. It creates an interest. And yes, well, there will be examples of bros like mine that will just give up on things because not into the miniature part. It still is important to get a name out there and get more people, because that's how you will get more people into Warhammer the Old World. Of course, this can only work, and I repeat it again, if you manage to keep the game alive, do it properly, and treat it fairly. Do not abandon it, and try to maintain it. That's very important, because no book series will ever help. No book series will ever help if the game is trash. The Horus Heresy First Edition lasted for quite a while, and it did so because it didn't need anything else. It already had all the rules there, and you needed just the models. What else you needed? Well, it was the book series to understand the world that you were getting into, but those could have lived separately. Trying to do something like the Horus Heresy is like catching lightning in a bottle. It happens once, and it's not guaranteed it will happen again, but still, trying to do it and doing it in a good way that avoids something like The Beast Arises, where it becomes just rushed and abandoned, it's better. There was potential with The Beast Arises. The potential was there, and for a good part of the series, it was good. Then they kind of rushed it. Do not do that with the Warhammer Old World thing. Don't do the Old World like that. And now my advice, the biggest one, is to keep it away. Keep the Old World away from Age of Sigmar. Of course, it's kind of hard because Sigmar is there as a character. Elves are basically immortal when it comes to aging. So you have characters from Age of Sigmar that can appear. Well, what's important is that don't do it. Don't bring up the Age of Sigmar. Don't make subtle references to it. Don't bring it in. Try to keep it as separate from Age of Sigmar as you can, in such a way that it seems they are two separate, distinct entities. Keep them away. Now, why do I say this? Now, some might just attribute this to me not liking Age of Sigmar and its lore. And that is partially true. That's only partial. The truth is that keeping it away from Age of Sigmar avoids making connotations, comparisons, things like those. You want the old world to stand on its own feet and put all your eggs in that basket when it comes to Warhammer Fantasy and rank and file games. Put everything in that and try to keep it very distinct, very far away from the Age of Sigmar. I repeat, this is very important. You don't want to have the connection to Age of Sigmar. You want it to stand on its own merits, and you kind of want it to live by itself. Because if you invest in it, if you take care of it properly, it is a moneymaker, and that will make the Warhammer, the old world, whatever, succeed. If you just make random references to Age of Sigmar and kind of abandon the book series and the game entirely, well, good luck, they meant nothing. You wasted your money. Keep things apart. And now this has been all. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you in the next one.